Obituary requests are very popular questions at the reference desk and can be time-consuming and tricky to find, especially because everyone does not automatically get an obituary. They are typically paid for by the family, so there may indeed be no obituary for the person you are looking for. Two key pieces of information you need are the death date and where the deceased lived. Death indexes can provide you with this information. To access death indexes on our site, click on the Reference Center tab. The bibliographies are organized by subject, and we will start with history and then click on genealogy. There are various subcategories for genealogy, and if we click on death indexes, the results will appear on the right. The first one is the Social Security Death Index, which started recording deaths in 1962. The second popular index is the California Death Records from 1940 to 1997. For deaths prior to 1940, the Los Angeles Public Library has microformed the California Death Index, and you can send that question to us, SCLC, and we can do the search for you. The California Death Index has some quirks to it, so let's take a look at it. You would enter in as much information as you know about the person. There's a nice search feature here for the name, and it searches Soundex and Metaphone searches, which will search for names that sound like your name, which is handy if you're not sure of the exact spelling or if it's a name with variant spellings. If the name is neutral, like Leslie or Dawn, and you know the sex, you can choose that, which will help limit the search. And the tricky features are the birthplace and the death place. The birthplace is typically by the state. The death place, however, while there are states, is by county. So when we search for this person, we get a lot of information that could be handy. The exact birth date, the mother's maiden name, which might be of interest, the birthplace. The death place here says Los Angeles, but this is not the city of Los Angeles, this is the county of Los Angeles. And as many of you know, the county is quite large and comprised of many cities. You get the death date, and since this person died after 1962, he's also linked to the Social Security Death Index. And if we click on the Social Security number, it takes us to the Social Security Death Index, and we find this vital piece of information, the last residence. So he lived in San Gabriel, which narrows down the search substantially. So the trick with the California death records is to realize that this death place is for county and not for city, and hopefully it will be in the Social Security Death Index and provide you with that last resident date. So let's go back to the Reference Center bibliographies. Now that we have a death date and a resident, let's look at finding obituaries. And we'll look at three. There's the Los Angeles Times Obituary Archives, and this started adding death obituaries since May 26, 2001. And all you do is type in the person's name, and we'll look for a person who died in 2003. So you type in their name and hit search. And this is showing that there is no obituary in the Los Angeles Times for Margaret Wycliffe. So let's go back to our bibliographies page and try another database. This is Obits Archive, and it is a commercial database. And as you can see, you can search by location, and if we click on California, it now lists all the newspapers that they archive, and it has the dates. And you can see that these are more current death dates. So you can choose the newspapers that you want to search, but you can also just enter the name of the deceased. and search that way. And I'm showing that there's no results for her in this particular database. So there's one more, this legacy.com, which is also a commercial database, and both the obits and this legacy.com provide snippets, so it gives you an idea if there is an obituary or not, and then they charge you for the actual obituary. So this way you can see you can search by state. So if I click on California, it shows me all the different newspapers, and if I click on one of these, it takes me to that newspaper's obituary site. Or again, we can just search by the person's name. I know she died in California, and she died in 2003, so I can narrow the search down that way. Click Go, and here I have found a snippet for Margaret Wycliffe. It shows she died in Panorama City on May 31st, 2003. And this obituary is in the Los Angeles Daily News, and it was on June 3rd, 2003. So with these obituary databases, you can very quickly help your patron find out if there is actually an obituary or not and where it is. And then if they wanted to pay for it, they could purchase the actual obituary right through these databases, or you could help them find a library that carried that particular newspaper, and they could actually go and get a copy of the actual article at the library. So hopefully these are some ways to make it faster and easier to find obituaries for both you and your patron.